So we're going to move right along because it is now 9 o'clock, and we are going to talk with another author, Miss Barbara Howard, and she disappeared. She go. Oh, there she is. Hi, Barbara.
Hello,
There she is. I thought you disappeared. I was like, I know I let her in. Where did she go?
I'm here. Had to
Well,
unmute.
well, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, it's great to have you. So I apologize that Gwen is unable to join the conversation today. She is a member of her church choir and they have a big performance coming up. So she had to miss tonight so she could go to rehearsal. But I'm here and we're gonna have a good time anyway.
Well, I grew up in the church choir. I know that's serious business, so that's fine
Yes.
with me.
All right, all right, all right. Well, like I said, welcome to
Thank you.
Black Authors Matter TV. I'm excited to get to know you. I'm not sure that we've had a chance to talk before, so I'm looking forward to getting to know you.
Yeah, same. I've been hanging out in the chat. I saw a couple of questions about self-publishing. I can definitely speak to that.
Okay,
But
come on
yeah.
then.
But yeah, I'm glad to be here and I'm enjoying the program so far. And I'm glad to connect with you guys.
Well, thank you. It's always nice when the authors who are guests when they hang out in the chat because we have some really dedicated viewers. They tune in every week, they comment every week, and when they see the author in the chat, they start to talk with them as well. And it just keeps everybody engaged that way. So thank you for doing that.
Absolutely.
So you're here to talk about your book, Lost History Between Us.
Well, I've got that. I'll hold it up. I'm shuffling books on my lap. That's it. It came out actually on my father's birthday, in January 31st.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's my baby. I picked that date on purpose. It has to do with the just a quick synopsis. The young woman is a history teacher, Black history, uh, and she inherits her grandmother's cabin that was their summer retreat. Her grandmother was also a historian, and so my heroine appears to, for the first time, after her passing, after the passing, to come to the cabin, and she finds out someone's broken into it
Mhm.
and has been ransacking through her grandmother's papers and so forth. And so it's a second chance romance as well. It's a romantic suspense. So I write mystery, romantic suspense, and contemporary romance. And so I like to have a blend of a lot of action. And your
Yes.
previous guest was talking about how, you want to start it where there's some action happening. And so that's where we start in the story. And who shows up to help investigate is the natural resource officer of the area, who's her ex from 3 years ago. And so,
Oh,
so here they, so here they
okay.
are. And
You do
the
start off
cast,
with a bang. I like
oh,
this.
absolutely. And the cabin was a safe house on the Underground Railroad. And
Oh, wow.
so the story gets into people stealing artifacts that pertain to Black history. And her grandmother was a suspect in a murder, so she wants to clear her name. So there's a lot going on, as well as the second chance romance. So yeah, that's what it's about. I did not know at the time I started writing this that we would be in this political quagmire right now of starting to lose things out of our historical archives and repositories. But
Right.
here's my story. So yeah, that came out in January. I have another one if you don't mind me holding up a couple of books.
Sure.
Um, this one came out in April and it's called My Sweet Escape. The hero in this one is a young woman who's a social media influencer. She says something ridiculous online. She gets in trouble and she
Mm.
has to hide out, so to speak. You know, she's got to kind of go quiet while the whole thing blows over, and she shows up in a little quaint town uh, in the Amish country where she meets a young man who's a confectioner. And so it's an opposites attracts. Can she
Okay.
leave that lifestyle behind and this, go offline and that sort of thing? So I kind of take on the
Oh, that
whole.
sounds interesting.
Thank you. I think one of the things that I learned early on was people like to not just see a lot of action, but they also want to live through lifestyles and careers that they're not familiar with. And so that's why I wanted to have a natural resource officer, not just a police officer, someone who's tapped into the natural, not only natural history, but our African American history as well. And then with our social media influencer and our confectioner, who's a fourth generation candy maker, as a Black family, historically. So I wanted to like bring in these careers and professions as well as the little love story that matches into it. So yeah, so that's what I've been up to.
Like that. Because what I'm hearing is, it's not just a good story with a lot of layers to it, but we also get a little bit of a history lesson with your stories.
I like to do that, and I think that may I hold up another book?
Sure. This is your
Okay.
time.
I have them in my lap. A young Black man said to me one time, he said, "Never leave your house without a book, one of your books." And I said, "Okay." And then he said, "Always be ready to show your book." I said, "Okay." So, so whenever I'm going to be on a Zoom, I have them nearby. So this one is Love Lies in Local News. She's an investigative reporter. And what we deal with in that story is um, a small town that's impacted by environmental damage, but they need the jobs as well. And so they want the company there, but they don't want, they obviously see a lot of environmental issues in their health and so forth. And that impacts a lot of Black communities that,
Right.
as we know, right? And so I bring the issues in to the story, even though that's not the story. I put them in environments that are reality for our people in particular. Like losing our Black history is an issue for our people, making sure we safeguard that. So
Right.
I make that the backdrop of the mystery or the romance. Yeah.
Now, you are another busy lady because you have three more books that you're planning on releasing this year.
Yes. Yes. Someone
I don't know
asked
how you
me,
do it.
I know, it's why do you write so much? Because I can. Because it, because I get to do it now. So my career is in information technology. You're talking about Maryland. I spent half of my life over Virginia, Maryland, working in the Pentagon, working on Capitol Hill. Like that was
Okay.
that was where my life was. Um, and but my early childhood was toward reading and writing. I was going to go to Sarah Lawrence. I was going to be an author, all that sort of thing. But you got to pay your bills. So that was not the path I took. So when fast forward now I can, so now
Yes.
these have been like a fire hose is coming out. Now let's get these stories done. And my best friend, who's an amazing author, I sent her a text yesterday, said, "Can I run a storyline by you?" So there, there's always these ideas, and then she was like, "I got stuck on something. Can I text you about it?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." So there's always
Well, that's
ideas.
that's great that you have
Yeah.
somebody that you can bounce those ideas off of.
Yes. And it helps when it's someone that can be brutally honest
Yes.
and you still love each other
I
when it's
got
all
that.
said and done.
I love that. Love that.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I,
yeah,
I
you
would
have
tell
that.
you, I am on my second career. I did 23 years in the Army, and for the last 6 to 8 years, I've been working for the federal government. And when I retired this time, I'm doing exactly what you're doing. I'm just going to be writing full time. And this
Yes,
is what I thought I wanted to do when I retired from the Army. Where I went back to work because, as you said, I got to pay the bills. So
Yes.
I'm setting myself up to when I retire again, I'm not doing a third career. I'm just going to write and I'm going to relax. In fact, one of my colleagues just retired recently, like within the last couple of weeks, and he sent us a picture of him sitting in his pool in his backyard drinking a beer. That's what I don't drink beer, but sitting in the pool in the backyard, chilling in the middle of the day is what I want to do.
May I say this? May I say this? I am
Yes.
busier now. I am busier now. And I think because the motivation is coming from my core
Yeah.
versus the motivation being you got to pay the bills, you know? And so
No,
I
no,
was,
I'm with you on that. I'm totally
yeah,
with you on that.
yeah. So it's like the whole idea that retirement was going to be the rest and relaxation. It just somehow didn't turn out that way.
Oh,
So,
I'm
yeah,
probably the same as you as in that I'm not going to fully rest.
yeah.
However, I do know that I'm going to be fitting some time in for me
Get
to
your
sit
writing in.
on my
Yeah,
deck and write and let the sun hit my face. That's
yeah.
really what I just want. Even if I'm busy, I want to be busy doing the things that I love doing. And I
Yeah,
love writing. And right now I feel like I fit my writing in to when I have time instead of doing it
right.
when it hits me. So that's why I said I'm looking forward to my
Yeah.
retirement.
And I think one of the things that's great about being able to pick this up now, um, is I can look back on all the places that I've worked, all the people that I met, all the places where I moved to, and all those experiences. Because people ask me, where you get these ideas, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, they're a Frankenstein of all of these different places, all these different people. There's a little bit of this person mixed in with my, where I used to live here, and I mix them together and I make it a place or a person that had this piece in their personality and another person. And you can Frankenstein people and characters together based on all those years of experience. And so
Mhm.
it gives you that seed bed to pull from. So it's not, even though it felt like everything got put on hold, and it sort of did, but while it was on hold, it was still germinating. So it all comes through in a lot of the writing is all those experiences. But yeah, that's why I have another book coming out in August the 26th that I push
Mhm.
that's coming out on August the 26th. So I've got a month to get this baby polished and perfect. Uh, and then in October, I have it coming out on October the 18th, my grandfather's birthday. It's a big, certain dates, I'll pick a date that's significant that makes me really want to push to get it done and get it perfected on that date, to make sure it's released. So yeah, so October the 18th, and then I'll have a holiday. I'll hold one more book. I'll hold one more book. This one is Blazing Heart, Silent Night. Last Christmas, everyone was showing off their Christmas books, their holiday books around, October, November. And I said, I don't have
Mhm.
anything that's about Christmas. I have nothing I have no holiday books. Oh my God, like what am I doing? So this is an army medic who comes back and her inherits her father's Christmas tree farm, and there's an arsonist in the community. And right, burning down everything that has to do with
Yeah,
Christmas. So anything related to Christmas, he's burning it down. And
I hate that.
and here comes dun, 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 to save the day. So she comes back home, and uh her ex from high school is now the sheriff. And so he's there to let her know what's going on. And between the two of them, they have to sort out her PTSD issues and some other things, as well as find who this arsonist is. So it's another romantic suspense. But yeah, so I had to have a holiday. I had to have a holiday
Yes,
book.
yes.
So
I'm
yeah,
planning on a holiday romance this year myself. So I'm looking forward to jumping into that sorority of holiday books. I'm gonna be
right.
right there with you.
Yeah, I had to
So
in the go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, 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 go ahead.
No, I was just saying I was joking with someone at a book fair, And I said, so I needed a holiday book. So I have one where they're burning down everything that has to do with Christmas. And she said, that sounds very festive. I said, well, it's a romantic suspense. I couldn't just have them, drinking eggnog. I had to,
Right,
had to
right.
had to have a crime.
Love that. Love that. So now that's a lot of books that are coming out within months of each other. Um, I know you said you find yourself busier in your retirement life, but how is your writing process? Are you writing two books at once, three books at once, or are you going one after the other, or are you just putting in long days of writing? How are you doing this?
I'll say that it's a combination of everything you just said. Last
Oh,
year, I took the seat as board president of the Great Lakes Fiction Writers, and so I had a lot of things in the queue of
mhm,
ideas and manuscripts and various, ideas floating around in bits and pieces. And I didn't really finish that much, or at least I didn't feel like I finished that much. I had a novella series; those are very short. I got
mhm,
those done. Got book 5 done. Okay, we're done with that series because I have to get out of Clover City. I'm tired of Clover City. You go on this series, so like I'm done with this series, and I wanted to move on to these other books that I've been holding up, and I
mhm.
didn't have a chance to finish any of them. So saying that, when I stepped into 2025, into 24, in the beginning of 25, a lot of these were, all I have to do is finish Act 3. Like I'm just pretty close to getting them done. So they were in the queue, so to speak. The ones that I'm finishing up now they were in idea space. Like I said, I just chatted with my friend saying, let me run this idea by you. I'm not going to touch that until next year, but that's how I am with like generating ideas. But
Right.
um so the first 3 that showed up this year have been in the works last year. And so I'm trying to get at least 3 done a year. What I do is I hang very close to people who are very prolific. And
Oh.
a friend of mine said, you know what? Just write faster. And so we have this running joke with each other. Whenever I feel myself dragging, I said, nope, just write faster. Like that's the answer. Just stop
Mm,
whining and get it done. So when the saying, a rising tide lifts all boats, so when you're around people who have that type of momentum going, that energy, then it automatically lifts you to that place too. And so
yes.
when I set that goal for myself, it helps when you have people around you that have that same level of commitment. And so I want to get 4 done a year. But yeah, there's that part of me that says, this is now when you're doing this. Like, this is when this is happening. Next year, you may not be able to do anything. You don't know what next year is going to be,
Mm,
so you know
yes.
what I mean? Like, this is on your plate now. Get it done, get it finished. Because next year, who knows where we're going to be and what's going to be happening. And you don't want to, when the pandemic first showed up, one of the things that I said to someone is, I'm not going to die broken and I'm not going to die empty. Whatever I said to myself I wanted to get done, I'm going to keep that promise to myself from my childhood. So I looked at
Yes.
me as a little girl and said, I'm going to keep my promise to you. So that's the get 4 of them done a year. And so that's how that happens for me. Yeah.
So you have it's your mindset really that's changed. You don't approach a project like, oh, I have time to finish it.
No. I have no time to finish it. So let's get it done now. Yeah.
I love that.
It's not a promise. I think if anything, the pandemic should have taught us that there's no promise. There's no promise. So if it's something that you want, get it done now. So yeah, yeah.
I love that. I love that. Show us your book one more time. Yeah,
Oh,
well,
plenty.
I don't know. There's so many of them.
There's so many of them.
The
I
current
have
book.
to I have to do a shout out to Carlos if Carlos ever watches this because don't ever leave your house without your books. So anyway, so this one is the one with the arsonist
Yes.
burning down everything that has to do with Christmas. Um, and again, book whenever there's a book fair, whenever I'm talking to people, I always give them the triggers. This one has deals with PTSD.
Okay.
Um, so that's an issue. This one is My Sweet Escape. This is the social media influencer who has to hide out because she made a viral mistake.
Wait,
The
now
trick is
I have to ask you though, because see, when you described that story at first, I thought she fell in love with a white man because of the town you said she was hiding out in. Where did she find this black sweets maker?
she okay. She flies from LA and lands in Ohio
Okay.
in this little quaint town in the Amish community where there are a handful of black folks, and his family happens to be one of them.
Okay,
And
I
so
love that.
their history, yeah. And so all he knows is this little town, and he's the fourth generation of this black family. That's the there, and there's history behind them. But her cyberbullying is in this, and also mental health is that. This one is Lost History Between Us. This is the history teacher who inherits a cabin that's been broken into that was on the Underground Railroad, and they're stealing our Black history. Chronic illness is mentioned in this one. And this one is Love, Lies, and Local News. This is a love triangle. It's kind of spicy. So I was like, oh no, it's kind of spicy. And in that, we deal with suicide. Is mentioned. You don't see it happen, but there's suicide mentioned in that. So
So,
I like to let
so
people know.
do all of your books have a different trigger that you deal with?
It doesn't start out that way. I think that as I'm developing the characters and I want to give them here's my perspective on how I because I'm a plotter, but there's room for things to change. And if I'm sitting with a story and according to my little outline, it's done, but I don't see them become whole in some respect, where I don't see them overcome something. I don't see their growth. I don't see a moment that sparks them alive in some way. Then it's not finished. Even if all the action is completed. And so I needed to give. In this case, this young woman, I needed to give her, like, her mother is bipolar. And so that's why there's a lot of her dealing with her being accepted, feeling rejected, not being good enough. So it's like, where did all of that come from? So I had to put something in her backstory to explain why she deals with all of these insecurities. And
Hmm.
in that case, it was because of her mother's mental illness. And so that's where these things come from. And so that's where the trigger warnings come in because I read someone's book, very famous person, and I read their book, and the young woman's boyfriend proposes to her, and she like doesn't want to get married. And I read the entire story. I'm like, nowhere in here did you show me why.
Right, right.
You know, like
I
why is
said that
she?
I said that to an author one time. I was editing a book, and the story was fun, but in the story, I didn't know that the girlfriend was unlikable until the narration told me that I wasn't supposed to like her. But I didn't see
Mm,
any action that she had. I didn't see anything that she said that would make her as unlikable as the narration was telling me that she should be. And I was like, and I told the author, I said, she didn't do anything. Why do we not like
right.
her?
Right. And it's that you're not liking her should have come out of you automatically based on her behavior. right? Or
Right,
something in her
right. She was
backstory.
just trying to convince us. She's trying to
She's a
convince us
bad
why her
person.
boyfriend wants to break up with her, why he's not happy with her. But I didn't see anything that she did that would make him feel that way. So,
Right.
and so what you're saying is such a good point that I our narration can't tell people how
No.
to feel. We can't make people feel a certain way about characters. We have
Right.
we have to be able to um reveal that within the characters' actions, within their words, within the subtext. That's what helps us to come up with how we should feel about a person. And then
Right.
often, and I think we were saying this earlier in the show, often what we expect people to feel for a character, sometimes that's not what the people feel about them.
Right. Yeah, and it's in my story that has Love Lies in Local News, it has a love triangle. One person who reviewed the book said, just let's just say the first half, all I did was yell at her and say, make up your mind, but but that's what a love triangle is. You know what I
Right,
mean? It's
right.
like to help you, who is she gonna pick? So how she interpreted, and my best buddy hated that part of the story. Like, she's so confused. I said, well, she's conflicted. Yeah, but she's confused. I said, yeah, well, she's like, that's the whole triangle bit. So it doesn't land with everyone. And that's why I like to let them know, if I'm, like I said, in a book fair, whenever I'm talking to someone, I said, this is what's going on in this story. And I think when you were talking with your previous guest about, like, what are the advantages of going to conventions and book fairs and things like that, it's like you get to have this conversation and tell them. You want to set the expectation because you want your story out, all of your work. You want to put it in the right hands. You don't want to just like buy my book. You want the person,
Right, right.
you want it to be a match. Like, it's almost like you're matchmaking, your book to the person. Like, do you, how,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? Like, it's a little spicy. This has no spice. This one has PTSD mention. Are you okay with that? So you're trying to make a book, date, so to speak. So
Right. I
yeah,
love that.
but
A book date.
you want to make sure you have a good match. And I think that, like you were saying, it has to come out of the reader's own emotions, because
Yes.
they're now invested in the story, because they're feeling that, man, I don't like her, versus, like you said, the narrators saying she's not a likable person, no one likes her. Like, yeah, but I don't see why. So yeah, the
Right.
triggers and all that come out of that whole, she's walking through these experiences and she's behaving this way, but I have to give people a reason to understand why she's that way. Um, and that way,
Absolutely.
it's not a flat, character situation.
Absolutely. Well, Barbara, this has been so fun talking with you. I really appreciate you coming on the show, and I really appreciate all the jewels that you dropped this entire half hour. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of people learned a lot just by listening to you speak. So, thank you very
Thank you.
much for sharing with us tonight.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right, you have a wonderful evening.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.